Hello, and thank you for watching this regional forecast for the Northeast. I'm Andrew Pritchard, Senior Meteorologist with Nutrien Ag Solutions. Well, chilly air is making its way across the northern plains into the upper Midwest, 20s and 30s across North Dakota, South Dakota, down into Nebraska, and then eastward into lower Michigan. We're still a bit warm in advance of that frontal boundary across the Northeast, 40s and 50s for our morning temperatures here across the region. We're doing that underneath some cloud cover that's bringing some rain to the region. We'll see a rainy start to the weekend before we dry out heading into next week. We'll look at that radar activity here between 5 and 6 this morning. If you're watching this video a little later in the day, take an updated look at that. But again, you can see the area of just some light rain making its way through parts of eastern Pennsylvania, up through eastern New York, into New Hampshire, Vermont, and Maine. We'll continue to see this light rain activity making its way off to the north and east as we head through the day today. The last 72 hours of precipitation, we've seen quite a few areas picking up, anywhere from half an inch to an inch across the Northeast. A broad area of precipitation making its way in. This is badly needed moisture, and again, we're going to be looking at a mostly dry next 5 days or so before we watch a chance for some more organized precipitation making its way in toward the end of next week. So as we look at the next 7 days, a way to kind of break this into telling a story, we'll be looking at cooler temperatures hanging out in the west, parts of Pennsylvania and New York, really hanging out below average as we head into the next week. And then looking at the precipitation forecast over on the right. Again, we're starting off on a rainy note here, or at least ending this week on a rainier note. We'll see a couple opportunities for some glancing blows of precipitation as we head through the weekend into early next week, but the next real organized chance of some significant precipitation is much less uncertain and much further off into the future as we get toward the end of next week. Now, the pattern as we get started again, big trough south of the Aleutian Islands, ridge across western Canada and the Pacific Northwest, a trough digging in across the Great Lakes, parts of the eastern Corn Belt, and again, that's what's kept cooler air coming in, especially across the west, and then at times some ridging across the far northeast part of the northeastern region. So it could be a little bit warmer off toward that area. Now, as we transition into the next week, we're going to keep troughing intermittently across the region. So periods of cooler temperatures, shots of cooler air making their way into the region as we head through the next 7 days or so. A specific look at the temperature anomaly forecast. Again, a little bit warmer in Maine today and then cooler as you head back toward western Pennsylvania and New York. There is that temperature disparity from west to east across the region with the very dynamic and amplified jet stream. When I say that, I mean very wavy, creating these regional temperature extremes across the lower 48. Now, as we head into the end of the weekend, deeper into, or starting to get into early next week, we'll watch another shot of cool air hanging out across the mid-Mississippi Valley, across the eastern Corn Belt, some of that cool air making its way into the Northeast as we head into early next week as well. We'll get a shot of some warmer air midweek before another shot of cooler air, a bit of a temperature roller coaster next week before potentially bringing some ridging into much of the central and eastern U.S., and that would transition us into potentially a warmer mid to late October. Now, the reason for the drier forecast, again, this is something that I've been showing for several weeks at this point because it really illustrates the pattern well with these shots of very dry air. You see the brown air coming out. What you also see is the deeper colors here, the oranges, the reds, and the greens, and even the magentas, where we've got very deep, humid, tropical air is being confined to the Gulf Coast and the Atlantic by these big sweeping fronts. And then also some of our tropical activity that just kind of is keeping the deeper Gulf moisture wrapped around itself. So even with these systems, even with a fairly active pattern as far as upper level disturbances, they're just bringing a little bit of Pacific moisture with them to the area, not any real deep moisture being tapped into, and so they really are underachievers as far as precipitation goes. So we'll look at the forecast as we head into next week, the precipitation forecast from the European model, and you can watch the light rain shower activity making its way off to the northeast as we head through the day today, drying out by the time we get to the overnight tonight. Now, there could still be some lingering, very light, spotty rain shower activity across upstate New York, across New Hampshire and Vermont, and into Maine during the afternoon hours on Saturday. We could see similar activity flaring up across the west, parts of western Pennsylvania and western New York on Sunday afternoon. This little system swings out of the Great Lakes as we get into Monday, and that's going to mostly be moisture-starved and be an underachiever again as far as precipitation goes. But some cloudy skies, some light showers possible across the Northeast on Monday. We'll watch another front swing through the area Wednesday night into Thursday. This one, again, could bring some quick, light precipitation to the region, another shot of cool air. But again, another one that's likely to be an underachiever as far as total weekly total precipitation goes. So here's the European model. We'll just let it play here and show you the accumulated forecast precipitation over the next week. You see the weekend system right there into Monday. Another shot of some precipitation here Tuesday and into Wednesday. Better chances for some heavier precipitation with that late week system off to the north, but what you're seeing here is a lot of half an inch, a lot of few tenths of an inch from several opportunities of precipitation over the next week. At times, we'll see some breezy conditions making their way into the northeast. Really, the stronger winds will be confined to the high plains with some of these lows swinging out of the area. Across the northeast, though, maybe seeing some of those winds gusting up to 20 or 30 miles per hour as this bigger system makes its way in during the middle part of the week. Otherwise, wind's not going to be a very big factor across the northeast as we head through the weekend into early next week. We'll finish with a look at your high temperatures then again, 50s and 60s for the region today. It's likely going to be the case as we head through much of the weekend into early next week. It's not until we get to Tuesday and Wednesday we'll start to see that warm up and maybe bring some 70s back into the region as we get into mid to late next week. Have a great Friday, a wonderful weekend. We'll talk to you again on Monday morning.